Good morning, everybody. This is Mike Brennan here at the National Hurricane Center. It's just after 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Monday, September 16th. Coming on this morning to talk about some tropical storm conditions occurring across portions of the North Carolina coastline, South Carolina coastline, with what we're calling Potential Tropical Cyclone 8 this morning. The system is centered just to the south-southwest of Cape Fear. You can see the circulation here. And while the system doesn't have all the characteristics to make it a tropical storm, it's producing tropical storm-like conditions across especially portions of the southeastern North Carolina coast here. The system is moving gradually inland and will make landfall later today, but you can see most of the hazardous weather in terms of the clouds, the shower and thunderstorm activity, strong winds extend well to the north and northeast of the center this morning. Maximum sustained winds are around the sort of 50 miles per hour or so, and you can see these heavy bands of showers and thunderstorms moving onshore in portions of New Hanover and Brunswick County in southeastern North Carolina. Within the last hour, we had a sustained wind of around 50 miles per hour at the Johnny Mercer Pier in Wrightsville Beach, with wind gusts up above 65 miles per hour in this band. So some of the strongest winds are occurring now, but you can see the rain shield extending across much of southeastern and then into central North Carolina, moving into the Raleigh region and into portions of northeastern South Carolina as well along the I-95 corridor. This rain shield is going to expand inland during the day today and into tonight as the system moves inland. If we look at the forecast here, again, the system is moving off to the north-northwest at 5 miles per hour. It's going to bring the center of the low inland over northeastern South Carolina by tonight and early Tuesday, and the low is going to gradually weaken as it moves inland into south-central North Carolina. Right now, we have tropical storm warnings in effect for the northeastern South Carolina coast from South Santee River up through the Grand Strand region, up across southeastern North Carolina, up to Ocracoke Inlet to cover the expectation that we're going to see tropical storm conditions within this area. Again, maximum winds around 50 miles per hour. But again, those strongest winds have been in southeastern North Carolina in the last couple of hours. If we move ahead, again, just a closer look at the tropical storm watches and warnings that are in effect from north of the Charleston area up through Myrtle Beach, up to just east of Wilmington and into the Morehead City region. Let's focus now on the rainfall, since that's probably the most widespread hazard associated with the system. We have flood and flash flood watches in effect for northeastern South Carolina, much of central and the southern, eastern, southeastern, and east central portions of North Carolina, including parts of the Outer Banks, Morehead City, Wilmington, Fayetteville, up to the Raleigh area, up toward the north towards the Virginia border. If we look at the risk of flash flooding over the next couple of days, we're most focused in today on this region here in southeastern North Carolina, including the Wilmington area just to the northeast of Myrtle Beach, where we have that level 3 out of 4 risk of flash flooding. So that's an area where you're going to want to be especially careful today. Be on the lookout for any flash flood warnings that might be issued. And then there's a broader risk of scattered flash flooding across much of the rest of North Carolina, northern South Carolina, and even to extreme southern portions of Virginia as that rain shield associated with this low moves inland. If we look at the rainfall forecast, we could see isolated amounts as high as 10 inches of rain here in this band from Wilmington up towards Fayetteville, with widespread amounts of 4 to 6 inches across much of southeastern North Carolina, northeastern South Carolina. I could see isolated amounts as high as 6 inches along the Blue Ridge here in western North Carolina, with 1 to 3 inch amounts expected up into portions of Virginia, with locally higher amounts there as well. This system is also bringing significant coastal impacts in terms of large waves and some coastal flooding. We're expecting to see 1 to 3 feet of inundation from the coastal flooding above ground level from the South Santee River across Myrtle Beach up through the North Carolina coast up to Oregon Inlet, including portions of the Pamlico Sound, the Neuse and Bay Rivers, Pamlico and Pungo Rivers. So you're going to see the combination of the heavy rainfall flooding and the potential for the coastal flooding combining forces in this area today. On the tornado front, there is a risk of tornadoes today, all the way across much of eastern North Carolina down to extreme northeastern South Carolina. The highest risk is right along the North Carolina coastline from just north of Cape Hatteras down through Morehead City to Wilmington to the South Carolina border. So as we wrap up our summary here, here's the key messages for our low this morning. Tropical storm conditions are ongoing and expected to continue along portions of the coastline of northern South Carolina, the southern 2/3 of the North Carolina coast for at least the next several hours until the low moves inland. We're going to see the potential for locally considerable flash and urban flooding and minor river flooding across southeast North Carolina and northeastern South Carolina through tonight. There's also a more isolated risk of flash and urban flooding across much of the mid-Atlantic region all the way through Wednesday. And we're going to continue to see coastal flooding and high surf likely along portions of the southeast coast of the United States through this afternoon. So please keep coming back to us here at the National Hurricane Center at Hurricanes.gov for the latest on this system. You can get more information from your local National Weather Service office at weather.gov. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Brennan here at the National Hurricane Center.